Hi, I'm Hannah, and I am very excited because we have our very first guest on Neuro Spicy Side Quests.
Hi everyone, Magdalena here, and I'm so excited to introduce Nur Sharif. Nur's joining us from London, and he and I have been talking for almost a year now. We were talking about that back and forth. We met on TikTok. So Nur is our first guest. Nur, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you for having me as the first ever guest on the podcast. So, everyone, I'm a criminologist and I do podcasts on mental health and true crime. And as well as that, I'm also a playwright for the Theatre in London, working on a new play on drug trafficking.
Oh, wow.
Ooh, very
Wow.
interesting.
Very, wow. Which play are you? Well, where's the play set? Which theatre in London?
So it's going to be in the Royal Court Theatre in London.
Nice, very nice, lovely. I like Drury Lane. That's my favourite. That's beside the point. That's a side quest. That's beside the point. So, no, very happy to have you with us as our first guest on Neurospicy Side Quest. Magdalena and I are both diagnosed ADHD.
Yep.
And I'm suspected ADHD, the full gambit. And I'm complex ADHD, so I'm inattentive and hyperactive. So I've got everything. But do you see yourself as being being a neurodiverse person?
Yeah, so I'm on the autism spectrum stuff. So I've been diagnosed with autism since I think age of 14 now. And stuff, and it's something that I've dealt with experience, and I think I've learned more about myself and about autism as I've gone on the journey and met obviously other people on the spectrum. Has helped me as well to learn a bit about how autism works and to understand myself a bit more.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. How has it shaped your world then? No.
I think since having the diagnosis, it's helped me to make more sense of myself and the world. Because at first, I didn't understand why I was misreading social cues or misreading situations. But I think since having the diagnosis, everything actually fell into place for me. Saying, okay, that it's part of who I am and my autistic traits.
Yeah, because that's quite late, isn't it, to be diagnosed at 14?
Yeah,
it's quite late, especially in the UK. So I mean, I was diagnosed a lot later, like last year. So, but it was a moment of grief as well for all the years lost, and all the things I could have done if I'd known, or things I would have done differently if I'd known, or could have told somebody, be a bit gentle with me. I'm still learning social cues even at my age.
yeah.
It's yeah. Thank you for sharing that. No.
Thank you.
Well, I know you like true crime, so we've got some fun questions to tie in with that as well.
Yeah.
One of the questions is nature versus nurture. Where do you land when it comes to criminal behavior?
I think when it comes to criminal behavior, I think it's like more of doing the nature aspect and stuff, because obviously different criminals have, different environmental backgrounds and stuff. And obviously, someone like Ted Bundy, for example, let's use him as a prime example. He came from, from what I know, from what I've researched, he came from a good, upbringing, like a good family home, no sign of, abuse or happening. But then the question happens, what actually went wrong with it? Because he had a high IQ as a, practicing lawyer, I believe he was, and was actually quite intelligent for him. So then I think when it comes to someone like him, I think what he was exposed to. I know he said he was exposed to violent, behavior. Whether he watched violent films, that could have possibly had an impact on his brain, or maybe some people missed out signs that something wasn't right with him from a young age, but people ignored that fact.
Yeah, he's fascinating, right? Because people were writing him letters. He had women writing him letters wanting to marry him after he was sentenced and in jail or in prison. Yeah,
that's almost like the celebrity of murder, isn't it? The celebrity of being a murderer. How do you feel about the difference between almost celebrating the murder and not focusing on the victim or victims.
I think that's what I noticed a lot, like especially with Netflix documentaries, they like to glamorize, these cases and serial killers, and obviously, with the victims who are, victims of crime, they get primarily ignored by the mass media.
Yeah.
And I think it's when the media report like someone like Ted Bundy, Jeffrey Dahmer, or anyone that's done that, it's like giving them the media sensation that they want, obviously, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And because to them, it's like giving them that status that they desired for, for a long time. It's making them like on the front pages next to the celebrities we know today.
Yeah. Yeah. There's been a lot of that recently on Netflix, hasn't there? There's been a documentary style, and then the remakes. This is what it was like. I can't think what it's called. Yeah. I was thinking of one with Charlie Hunnam.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
He. Why am I blanking on who he played?
Sons of Anarchy guy.
No, who is he? Which murder?
Was it Ed Gein?
That's it.
Ed Gein, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
That was an hour and a half from where I grew up.
Oh wow.
And yes.
Wow.
So quite interesting. Nur, I should have warned you that we're gonna go off script too, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, fine, yeah. That's completely fine.
We are side quests after all.
Let's see. Would you ever want to sit across from a criminal and ask them questions? And if yes, who?
Yeah, that's something I would like to do at some point. And I think in terms of who, I think I know people talk about him, which is Charles Bronson, the one who's in prison.
Yeah.
And he's just a fascinating person I feel like to have an interview with, because obviously, he's according to him, he claims he's innocent because unlike other criminals, he hasn't done any, murders or anything like that. But he's he's been, I think, the longest serving prisoner, I believe, in Britain, because of he's been in and out for a long time. But I feel like he's a fascinating one to speak to.
Yeah, he's a big personality as well, isn't he? He's never.
Yeah.
I don't know if I know this one. I'm not sure if I've known this one.
He's a big old tattooed guy, isn't he? Like, yeah. I'll send you I'll send you pictures. I don't know. Or Nur can send you pictures. I don't know. Yeah.
Did he have followers? Is that what it was?
Yeah, he was a bit more like a cult, almost a cult kind of. Yeah.
What question would you really want to ask him? If you were allowed one question, that's it. You get to sit down with him. What's that one question?
Probably less probably to ask him about, what made him, do the things and why he hasn't changed. Like what goes on inside of his inner thoughts when he's doing these things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. I just got chills to sit across from someone like that.
Do you think that part of that comes from you said you misunderstood social cues, so wanting to know more about people? Do you think that part of that comes from that side of your nature, that because you're neurodiverse, you want to know more about why people act the way they do, so you understand it better?
Yeah, I think that's a way I would see it helps me to understand as well, especially when it comes to the social cues aspects.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think that's why we make such good listeners sometimes, because we want to know. But why do you say that? Why is that funny? I don't get it. Yeah.
Why do you think people are so drawn to true crime?
I think one reason that people are drawn to true crime is due to the way that the media reports it and stuff. And I think it's also, one thing I've noticed is that when it comes to media publicity is also when it's like a crime that's been committed by gender crime and stuff. For example, if a female, let's say, committed either a similar crime as a let's say, male serial killer, for example, Mara Hindley is a perfect example of it. Also, I know, according to what I've read, is that she got a harsher treatment by the mass media than Ian Brady. Ian Brady did, even though they both did the same crime. They both were, basically planned it together, but she got the harsher treatment, saying that she did not meet the media what's called stereotypes of society, which is to be a nurturing, caring individual.
Yeah, same like Rosemary West. Have you heard of the Wests, Magdalena? Rosemary and Fred West. They were
Oh,
local
yes,
to me.
I did.
Yeah, Gloucester.
Kids.
I'm born and raised in Gloucestershire, so they were my serial killers, as as it were. So yeah, Rosemary West was the same. She was like a vilified more so than Fred, but Fred, yeah, didn't he? Yeah. he gave up before, yeah. So
it's very interesting. Do you think we focus too much on killers and not enough on victims?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's better, fact by said by the media as well, that the media likes to sell, papers, make documentaries, and to show the killers in a way that people could resonate with. Like, for example, the Monster TV show on Netflix. It's like, even though those individuals have committed, heinous crimes, like Ed Gein and stuff, but obviously it makes people want to watch the next series and asking, oh, what's the next series going to be about? Which killer are we going to look, come next?
Yeah. Can I ask a side questy question?
Yeah.
Because obviously a lot of writers nowadays write dark romance and dark romanticity where it's actually is quite violent, and actually the women embrace it almost for the right man, as it were. And how do you feel about that being portrayed in literature as well as in, because it's a huge market, and I know some people overly graphicize, overly describe scenes, which you don't need to. There's some scenes you just don't need to. You can allude to it. You don't need to say it. But people want to read it, and these sort of books are highly publishable and highly sought after, because people almost want that gratification of reading it, like a step away from it almost, but they want that thrill of a dark man who's obsessed with them and then doing all sorts of really villainous stuff, really. And yeah, how do you feel about that in the literature world?
I think it's quite interesting because one person that comes to mind who actually does this is Stephen King, the horror writer, because I know he also likes to look at psychological aspects with his horror characters. And I think it was the first book that he did, which was like, I think it was Carrie, I believe was his first book, which was saying that when he wrote that book, he was so frightened that he had to leave his lights when he's sleepy. He had to leave lights on because they create the fear inside of him. And when the book got, I think, published, it actually created the fear amongst many horror fans.
Yeah.
Today. And anywhere you go, anyone they say psychology stuff, they say Stephen King, is someone who likes to describe stuff in detail, because he knows, he goes into very graphic detail with his kids. It's like you're in the same room as them when you're reading the book.
Well, even like Silence of the Lambs, you can see the attention to detail with Hannibal Lecter and his knowledge and stuff. Yeah. Hey, Magdalena, over to you.
I was going to comment that Stephen King's were the first books I really started to read at like 9 and 10. And I was so intrigued by them, intrigued, until I started reading Pet Sematary. And it got very real because I lived on a highway. I had 2 cats. My parents were gone for a walk. I was by myself, and we had tons of woods behind us. And all of a sudden it became so real that I couldn't read Stephen King anymore.
That I watched a film when I was 14 and I still have nightmares about it.
Yeah, I can't watch it.
No, it's
because of the pets.
Yeah,
right.
And the little boy and the little boy.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's so intriguing, is that we have the ability to make people feel, right? Like you started out and you said that you're working on a play right now with trafficking. What made you want to write that play?
I think for me, what like inspired actually to me write this particular play is because I was watching. I was also been so fascinated by watching documentaries and films on the people the mules who do this stuff, so there was one like the documentary series, so like a dramatization, but it's like based on real events, and it was called Locked Up Abroad, and I think what's actually so fascinating about that and was a key inspiration was that you actually seeing it from the perspective of the individual who's smuggling the stuff and looking at the reasons why they're doing it, whether it's poverty or other reasons that they may be doing it for, financial issues. And it's like by what they're going through, like the harsh treatment, the prison center, this makes you like then question, do you have sympathy for that person directly? Because if you look at the reasons, their background, saying these people, like if this point their children, their families back home, that's why they chose to do it for obviously the financial stuff. But then knowing that they went through the harsh treatment in this condition, do you feel sympathy for them knowing that they also decide actively committed a crime, which they which is obviously breaking the law of at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like those people who are sent to Australia for stealing loaves of bread.
Yeah.
It's like, does the punishment fit the crime?
Yes.
I guess. Yeah. And then other people get off scot-free.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Gut instinct or evidence, what do you trust more?
I think I would say probably, when it comes to criminal cases, I would say it's all due to, I think, evidence as stuff, because I think that's key to everything. Because obviously, you have issues, to society, to miscarriage of injustice, and so where people have been wrongly accused, but they get, they've got lengthy sentence, and that's all. Then after just a few years, they say, "Oh, we got the evidence here to prove this person was innocent," but the real person who did this stuff, he's, been freed as all, many years. But it's like, what were wrong with, the evidence? Like, was it the judge that did it? And I think, it's actually interesting because it actually connects to the question. There was a case I can't remember. I think it was in 2004, I believe. But it was like a domestic abuse case where she was a victim of domestic abuse for many years. But what happens is that the justice system said, oh, there's no enough evidence to prove that he did, even though she had she went through obviously physical and mental trauma, but the justice dismissed it. And it was only, I think, after many years they looked at it again, say, oh, the person, he's guilty, so therefore we could give him that justice. But it's like, where was the closure after all those many years?
Right.
Yeah,
it's fascinating. I think I remember the case that you're talking about, where she finally had enough and she fought back.
Yeah.
And then she went to prison for it.
Yeah, that one.
Yes. It's incredible. I was going to ask something else and I forgot. So go, Hannah.
I was going to say, I'm surprised that doesn't happen more with domestic violence and stuff, because in one of my books, self-publicizing time, in the book called Veilborn that I wrote, it's the man who's a victim of domestic violence, and his fiance gets murdered, not by him, but he's accused of it or suspected of it. And it's like that whole thing of the stress of going through and admitting he's a big guy, but he was being abused, and then also gaslighted and things like that by this woman for years, since they were teenagers. And he felt, because he's mad, he can't fight back. He just has to live with it, and then it comes to a head, doesn't it, Magdalena, as it were? And he kind of, his friends pull him out of that situation, and but then as it transpires, she does get killed by supernatural entity, so we say, and then but he's the one who's accused or suspected of her murder, so he has to prove himself innocent. So it's very interesting. The dynamics of crime is very interesting, and who is the victim and who is the perpetrator, really.
Yeah.
Do you think neurodivergent minds engage differently with true crime?
I think that's a very interesting question, because
Mm,
obviously, someone like who's on the spectrum, like for example, autism, as someone to look at true crime, that I feel like they go with a more analytical mind, as stuff
yeah.
like obviously being observant as well, as stuff helps a lot because you can see things from a different perspective, and I've noticed that from my own experience as well when I've like doing. When I've been doing the research for this particular play, it's like I've been going in with an analytical mindset of okay, yeah, how will I look at it differently with my characters, put them in this scenario here,
Okay.
as I think that's kind of helped me a lot to think of, I guess you could say, more out the box and more broad. And
Mm.
Yeah, it's very intriguing.
How do you do your research?
So for me, when it comes to research and stuff, for example, with this particular play, because it's like such a big topic and
Yeah.
stuff, and also using my criminology, background, for this play, I've been reading research papers. I read through interview transcripts, which I got by accounts of real life traffickers to get an idea of how it works. And I think what a key piece that was very interesting was that I read a memoir which was written by a real life trafficker and
Oh,
stuff, and
wow.
it's so fascinating because to see it
Mhm.
events from their point of view and to walk, it's like walking the shoes and stuff. Okay, they experienced this, and it's like maybe how can I apply their experience into my character in this
Mm.
play and follow their journey.
So you don't go and interview traffickers in prison, or have you ever done that? Or
Not in no, not a
no?
person. No, obviously, yeah, I've read obviously the research stuff around it,
Yeah,
like what I
yeah,
could get my hands on.
yeah. Because I know in British schools they do the prevent training, and they talk a lot about county lines. Have you got county lines in the US, Magdalena?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So using children to go across, in our case, counties,
Yes.
with drugs or money or weaponry, or and it's a big thing. And even in back end of nowhere where I am, it's a big thing still that county lines exist, and but as
Mhm.
teachers you have to be aware of it. So yeah, it's quite scary, this world that we live in now. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
And reading those social cues, right? If you're
Mm,
approached or anything like that, and knowing, right, someone being friendly or someone potentially nefarious.
Yeah,
yeah, I think a lot of neurodiverse kids are used because they a little bit of attention and they're like, oh, I'm normal, someone likes me, and then
Mhm.
that goes. It's really, yeah, they're quite vulnerable, I think, a lot of neurodiverse children nowadays.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What's one true crime case that stuck with you and why?
oh yeah, that's a very fascinating one. I think the case that comes to my mind, and it's something I've always been fascinated by, was that it happened. It was well of a Hollywood actor in the 1950s, and his name is, so not Christopher Reeve, but his name is George Reeves, and he was a
Mm.
Hollywood actor, and he played Superman in the 1950s.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I think that what I've been fascinated by his case was that when the detectives came to the house to investigate what happened, they found him in his bedroom, obviously unalived and stuff. And at first they were ruling out, saying, thinking, oh, he was obviously he suffered from mental health, so they thought he did it himself. But then they said, wait, why? It does explain that why is there a second bullet hole, in the wall, in the same room. And
Oh,
just
wow.
so presuming that one of the guests covered it up, and because they waited 45 minutes to call the police and stuff, and they're saying in those 45 minutes they could have came up with a story and stuff.
Mhm.
And what
Yeah.
made it even more fascinating was the detectives who were investigating. They weren't able to investigate properly because I think that detectives also, one of them also went missing.
Oh,
So,
wow.
and I think they were saying that the most person who did it was the actor's ex-wife and stuff, but because she wanted his money and
Yeah.
stuff. But to this day, no one was ever caught. No one was ever, caught. So it still
Mm.
remains unsolved for many years.
No, we'll solve it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Because, yeah. Sorry, Magdalena.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, past crimes like Jack the Ripper and Black
Mhm.
Dahlia in the US, they
Yeah.
still evoke such imagery and inspiration for people, don't they? You
Mhm.
know, so yeah, George Reeves. I'm gonna have to Google that.
I'm gonna have to too, because
Yeah.
I think there's a couple of them that have stuck with me, and you have to tell me what you think on these. The Jeffrey Dahmer case
Yep.
hit home because it was only 4 hours and it was on the
Mm.
news a lot. I was younger at the time, and I remember watching the Netflix special, and I think the Netflix special that they did is so different from the Ed Gein one. The Ed Gein was almost like a movie, right?
Yeah.
I'm blown away that I actually watched it, right? Because all the movies that he's inspired, like I don't want to watch the Texas Chainsaw Massacre ever. But the Jeffrey Dahmer Netflix took it from the side of the victim. And not a lot of them do that. Did you
No.
watch that one?
Yeah, I think I heard of it. I don't think I watched that one
Watched it.
particularly.
They really it's fascinating because they completely did it from the victim's perspective. So it wasn't sensationalized. It actually hit way home a lot worse, and I actually had to stop watching it because it was just really hard to watch. But the other one was the Manson, and I think the Manson one,
Yeah.
Charles Manson, where the Sharon Tate, the actress, got blown up so much bigger because she was a huge actress, right? It's interesting, and they were just going there because they didn't even know that she was there, right? That the person that they were trying to get wasn't there. It's just interesting on how some of these get so sensationalized, isn't it? Do you find that fascinating on who sometimes the victims are makes an impact on that?
Yeah, I think that is a very interesting question because, like you made with the Charles Manson case, and stuff, because obviously, you know, like Sarah Tate, she was married to Roman Polanski, who was a film director, and I think obviously that's why they got major headlines and stuff. But if it was, let's say, a regular person that they went and went after, I don't think it would have got the same level of coverage.
Right.
And so because it's like amazing because obviously even though they did the same crime against that individual in order because Sharon Tate was the main person that got the headline because the other people who were in the house and stuff, I don't think they got the same level of headline as her. I think from what I remember, I know there were actors and also worked in the the film industry as well. But the reason they did get that amount of headlines was because she was the the wife of one of the probably the biggest directors of Hollywood at that time.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Wow. Yeah. Status, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've had the shock of who's bring up the West again. It was their children and lodgers and nannies and things like that that were killed, and the abuse that went on behind closed doors. It's just awful. But then you got that sort of, and that French woman recently. Have you heard who was basically mass abuse? Her husband would drug her, so she'd fall asleep, and then he'd sell her to other people. Yeah, that was in the news quite a lot, wasn't it? Last year in the UK, and so that sort of crime is big. And then you've got the ones where it's a celebrity like Sharon Tate, and how it's so different. Like one crime gets more headlines than sensationalized bigger crimes. I'm gonna have to let the puppy out, but keep talking.
Okay. I have one more question.
Don't stop. I'm still listening. Don't stop.
Okay.
I'm just gonna have to let the puppy out.
What do you think about those criminals that do not get caught and they start antagonizing and start writing letters to the police because they want to get caught? What are your thoughts on someone like that?
I think when it comes to criminals who don't get like caught and stuff, I think it's like it's always fascinating stuff because obviously sorry, could you repeat the question again? Sorry.
Sure. Those criminals that don't get caught, right? Think like maybe a serial killer, and they start to write letters to the police. They start to taunt the police because they want to. Do you think they want to get caught? Why do you think they start doing that?
I think it's quite interesting because a perfect example, someone who actually did this was the Zodiac killer.
Yes.
And so, and I
Yes.
think, obviously he was sending encrypted codes to people and stuff because, because he was like taunting the police and stuff for the mysteries to solve this stuff. And obviously it's like people wondering, does he want to get caught? But then the Zodiac obviously remained a mystery, because then what was fascinating about Zodiac was that when it became a big, case and stuff, multiple people came forward saying they claimed they were the Zodiac and stuff,
Yeah.
just to
Yes.
turn themselves in to the police because of because of the status that he created and the real. But to this day, all these people came forward. They weren't the real Zodiac
Yeah.
person, and the real person to this day, remains a mystery. Whether he's still alive out there, whether he's off the grid, we have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Gosh. Wow. Yeah. That's
Hannah, do you have a
amazing.
question?
Just one last one. Remind me, a TV program called, I think, Mindhunter.
Yeah,
It's
Mindhunter.
by the coining of the phrase serial killer, and I think there's one character on there, if I can remember right. It might not be, who, to all intents and purposes, is living a normal life. He's married, he's got kids, and yet he'll go away and do these heinous crimes. And how do you? What's I don't know. I think because I watched Dexter as well, so there's a character in Dexter or Dexter himself is like that. He has sorry, where's this Jackson? he has that sort of double life himself. And how do you feel? I'm just going to put that over there. Oh God, threw it in the water. And how do you feel about people who can live normally and yet do these heinous things? Is what I'm trying to get out about the dog. Ignore the dog. Sorry.
I think it's quite interesting because it's like, we look at these, infamous murderers, like, like, for example, go back to Charles Manson and stuff. Also, he claims that he can sleep peacefully and stuff, knowing what he's done. And if you look at his interviews that he's done with police and stuff, unlike someone who has complete remorse, he remains calm when he's talking about it, and he's not like afraid to go into detail what he's done. It's like but someone who's actually remorseful, they will have tears in their eyes and actually break down. Well, if you look at him or even these serial killers, they actually not, from what I know, not one of them has actually shown any tears and stuff. When they're talking about the stuff, so they remain calm with their expression. It's interesting whether that's a common trait in psychopaths and stuff that makes them, that what makes them do it, like that they'd show no emotion when they do it. And some of the claim that they weren't aware of what they were even doing when it happened. And it's like it's interesting.
Yeah, they've got no feeling towards what they're doing, have they, or who they're hurting? Yeah.
No, it's almost normal, right? Because like Jeffrey Dahmer, his dad used to take him on car rides, and they would pick up animals, dead animals, and then they would dissect them. And so to him, it was normal to dissect things, right? There was no red flags for his dad.
Wow.
And it's actually interesting because related to this, that I think there was a film actually that people that the Columbine people got spied by, which was a film called Natural Born Killers.
Yes.
And obviously, I know
Woody Harrelson. Yeah.
And I know the Columbine people particularly, they actually said, oh, it's a copycat crime because it got influenced by this, and in their name they used the NBK as a what's called code.
Oh,
I think that's the guy I was thinking about in Mindhunter.
Torture, bind, torture, bind, kill. TB no, I don't think I got that right. Bind, torture, kill. BTK killer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he actually had a little bag by the front closet that was his bag, and his wife never once. His wife never questioned it or anything.
That's the one I was thinking of from Mindhunter. Yeah. It's just scary that you could be walking beside someone who's,
We'd never know.
And are we psychopathic for writing that in our books? Are we sociopaths or psychopaths for writing that?
Trying to make it normal.
I worry. Yeah, I worry. I do genuinely worry. I think, oh my God, Hannah, we're really dark now. Don't eat my thing. We're really dark now. Are you like a closet? I'm not. I'm not. By the way, I'm not.
Right.
But are you? I have that fear that I'm going too dark sometimes, and that, yeah, is that real for some? I know, Magdalena, we've talked about it a bit, haven't we? In my previous example that we've had, and yeah, how it deeply affected me, something that happened last year, and I worry, and I place all of my writing by like, that one incident now, and whether it's too much.
Too much.
Yeah.
What do you think about that, Nur?
I think it's quite interesting because obviously when it came to, for example, this current play I'm working on, it's actually interesting because before, even while I was writing the play, I actually had dreams and stuff, related to the subject matter.
Okay.
Really,
And
wow.
and actually, what was interesting about it, I think it's like, one of the dreams and stuff created that fear inside of me, that actually, how to write that fear inside of my own character and
Oh,
stuff.
wow.
And I think
Yeah.
to make it realistic, that experience, even as a fictional account of, what's going on, but there's like to show that, fear that, this is how, what actually works, and what the, their story of the mules is and stuff. And it's amazing that, as a writer, as a
You
playwright,
got
my
inside
own,
your own head.
my own,
Yeah.
the fact is that my own work, created that, that was called that
Wow.
fear inside of me, and it even kept me
Wow.
up at night as well. I remember one time I actually had to turn my own lamp on as well because I
Oh,
was
well.
so frightened to go to sleep.
So what?
Wow.
How do you get okay with that? Because it's quite fun to write it, but then you don't obviously want to live it or do it. So how are you
Get
okay?
past that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I think what kind of helps me is when I read like different genres outside and stuff,
Oh,
like
okay.
different writers, or watch probably like films and stuff from different
yeah.
genres. I actually that kind of helps me put my mind at ease and stuff. Because for example, like when it comes to plays stuff, reading different plays, different genres and stuff, it like helps my mind at ease, like more peaceful.
That's why I enjoy K-pop Demon Hunters. Got it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
really
because
good.
it's different to what I'm writing.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Something nice.
Yeah,
Is there any question you wish we would have asked you, Nur?
yeah. Good question.
I think one question I would say I think we you asked briefly, which was about how like neurodiversity like impacts creativity
Mm-hmm.
and stuff. And I'm
Yeah,
happy to discuss it if it's all right with you.
yeah,
Go
yeah.
for it. Go for
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
I think for me it had like a positive impact for me and stuff, because for me I've noticed I'm someone who is quite creative and
Yeah.
stuff. For example, I can have like, for example, when it comes to writing like plays and stuff, it's like for this particular plays, like the story and the scenes, characters I had in my mind, and putting them on the paper and stuff, and it actually helped me to visualize, because for me that's what I love about the world of theater and stuff, because I've been a huge film lover, and because I like to see things visually and understand
Yes.
the story. And I think with theater is the beauty of it is because you experience it live, and as
Yeah.
well as a visual piece. And I think
Yeah.
that's, for me, to write a story to see on the stage. That's, I think, really rewarding
It
to
must be
see
such a
it.
thrill. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know, like Shakespeare only comes alive on the stage.
Yeah,
He's not right on film, and he's not. You can't read Shakespeare, but when you watch it on the stage, yeah, it's amazing. Yeah.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
so fascinating.
It is fascinating. Anything
What?
else? Oh, go ahead,
Oh,
Hannah.
okay. What's the name of your play? You need to big up your play.
Yes,
And
yes.
when is it out, or is it out already?
So the title of this play is called The Peru 2 stuff. So because what the play is about these two female, traffickers
Oh,
and stuff.
female.
Yeah.
See, I actually went male. You see?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So because what I wanted to say was that obviously their story and stuff. So for example, I set the story from UK and stuff,
Yeah.
and they get involved in the whole international trade, trafficking by the drug cartels and stuff. And so the whole play will follow their story from why the reasons they did it, and them getting caught in the South American prison in Peru
Oh
and
wow.
stuff, and obviously once and then afterwards that the impact they had. But obviously what I'm doing with the structure with this play and stuff, and it's actually, I feel like it's going to make it very fascinating.
Yeah.
Is that what I've seen many some plays do, which is you tell the story in reverse chronological order. So I will start the play from the end, the events at the end, then work my way
Okay.
backwards, because
Oh,
what I
wow.
want to show with this play is that to make the audience question, is it these people, knowing what they're about to go through and stuff, knowing would you still have that sympathy and what's called sympathize with what they've done
Yeah.
and stuff, knowing the reasons, by knowing that they're going to go through the harsh treatment for what
Oh,
what they've
wow.
done.
Right. Are you
Oh.
touring the play outside of London?
So basically, at the moment, so it's going to be shown at the Royal Court Theatre first.
Yeah.
And so what happens is that once it gets shown at the Royal Court Theatre, and is that sometimes then plays get moved for like the West End or even international theatres as well.
Oh wow.
And stuff. So it's like because obviously it's like potential to move to other venues and stuff. And obviously you can write for, as a playwright, I can write for any theatre across the UK.
Well, every man in Cheltenham is a good place. Just saying.
That's fascinating. Wow.
Yeah.
Nur, where can people follow you on social?
So basically, I'm on Instagram and TikTok and stuff, and my handle is Nur Sharif Writer. That's my handle, on both Instagram and TikTok, and obviously, that's where I post my, writing stuff, my podcast stuff. You can check it all out and stuff, and and then my podcast stuff is also on Spotify, YouTube as well. So pretty much on social media.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
Awesome. Any final words?
I think thank you for having me on the show. It's been a very fascinating
Thank you.
discussion.
Yeah. Thank you. It's been brilliant.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's
Yeah,
been
really enjoyed
wonderful.
talking to you guys. Yeah, it's amazing
Yeah.
how like power of social media connects us writers together, and amazing. It's like so many like-minded people through the community with autism spectrum and writing, especially the power of what TikTok has that ability to connect people across the whole globe, pretty much.
It also shows what people with previously thought handicaps can do. We the world's our oyster. We can do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Well, it was so much fun, Nur, learning so much about you. And is there any way you want people to reach out to you other than social?
Yeah, I think probably, like I've said, TikTok is a bit a very
best place?
Yeah, best place. Yeah, follow my work there.
I can't even remember how we met, Nur, last year, but it must have been on posts or somewhere that we came across each other. So I'm very lucky to have met you.
Yeah,
you too, guys.
Yeah. It's been great getting to know you recently as well. So a little bit more.
And hopefully we get a little bigger, we'll bring you back on.
That'd be great. Yeah, thank you so much.
All right, Nur. Have a wonderful night. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nur. Have a good night.
Have a good day, everyone.
Bye.
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 Yeah.
So what'd you think about our first interview?
I thought it was awesome. I thought it was awesome. Really nice guy. Really, really nice guy. Very eloquent. Spoke very, very well.
Yes.
And and some of the subject he was willing to talk about was just really fascinating. Really interesting.
Oh yeah, he's super fascinating. The true crime stuff I could have actually talked about forever. I'm not gonna lie.
I know. I know. I was like, oh, there's this, and there's this, and there's this.
There's this, and there's this, and there's ones that I hadn't even realized. That I need to now look up.
I think,
but
Ted Bundy's like your Charles Manson. Yeah.
Yes, it is fascinating, but just how those minds work, and know that their minds work so differently, because I have always been intrigued by them as well, to the point where it kind of creeped me out. It's like, why am I so intrigued by them? Go ahead.
And sometimes they say, oh, he's autistic or he's ADHD, but he's also a psychopath or a sociopath, and or just or they've got something, or he was bullied because he was dyslexic or something, so neurodiversity does have a role, I think, to play, but it's not something to be shied away from or afraid of, because to be neurodiverse is to be creative, to be inspired, to find joy in the smallest thing and the smallest moment. You know, that's what it means to be neurodiverse, is to find joy in something a neurotypical wouldn't find joy in.
It's looking at things differently.
Yeah.
With that creative brush,
Yeah.
where some people might just walk by it and not even notice it.
Yeah.
And somebody who's neurodiverse will stop, pause, and let it impact them in a positive way. And I
Yeah.
think that's what's really cool. And so
Yeah.
I think that's why we are intrigued. I thought that was very curious, the question you asked him about is he intrigued with wanting to speak to a criminal because he wants to understand their why because of social cues. And I had never thought of it that way. And that's a very fascinating way to look at that.
Yeah, it just came to my mind. I thought,
no, I know we should have warned him. This is
like,
Neuro Spicy Side Quest.
Yeah.
Beforehand, you know, it was our first podcast. We wanted to make sure that we read the questions out if he was okay with all the questions. But we didn't warn him that we have side quests.
Yeah, so we go on tangents.
You're like winging it.
Yeah, like, oh, by the way, Valeborn. I was like, hello, shut up. But it was relevant. It was relevant because of
it was relevant to see his opinion on it too, as well as how he thought. And it was really interesting with what you were speaking with and how he connected that with Stephen King, and then me thinking about it as such a young kid. And I'm sure some people are like, there's no way you were reading that at 9 or 10. I was actually reading it at 9 and 10 because nobody was paying attention to what I was reading. And it was fascinating to me. But it got in your mind. And I think that is a good question on what is that line, right? Because we've talked about a little bit of like what you experienced last year and how it has impacted your writing, my writing, our friends' writing. And it's made us more aware because people who read some of our books, you know, we have a lot of memes about trigger warnings, right? Oh, those are the trigger warnings. Some people say, I don't even read that, or ooh, this like a buffet, right?
It's a menu.
Some people, it's a menu. But there are some people who actually deeply affects them and they don't want to, you know. There was a book, and I'm blanking on the name of the book, that a lot of people love, and I had to stop reading it because of the gun scene. Just did not get it. I thought it was not for me. And so I have no interest in finishing reading it, right? Haunting Adeline, is that the one?
Might be. I couldn't get into it.
So.
It was so badly written. So I couldn't get into it.
It's okay to have an opinion.
I
mean, people like books, they're gonna like what they like, right? And I think that's what books are about, is like we should all be able to like what we like.
Exactly.
And it wasn't for me.
No, and how you imagine something happening in a book as an author, you've got to be prepared for other people seeing it differently to you. You know, it's, you know, like we could create all the ChatGPT shots as we want of Adonis and Shep, but at the end of the day, someone's going to read that book and see it completely differently, you know. And it's it's just, the human brain is fascinating. It's just
it really is.
And but I do think we have a duty of care, and I'm so pleased that in Bloodbound you've got your trigger warning with help, because that was so important to me in Shackled and Valeborn, that I give people an out if you are affected by this, especially men with domestic violence. In Valeborn, if you are affected by this, there are people who will help you, and who will help you for free. And it was so important for me that not only do I give them the trigger warning, I give them a way to help themselves if they are triggered, because duty of care is the first and foremost responsibility of the author and the creator.
There has to be spelled out trigger warnings for people who are reading and getting into a book, so that it doesn't cause someone to inadvertently spiral or negatively impact them in such a bad way that it could bring back memories. So
PTSD and things like that. It's just awful. So you can't trigger for everything. I mean, you can't. It's impossible. But for the big things,
the big things.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're ready for another guest. I think we did
I
pretty
think
good. I
so
don't know.
too.
Let us know how we did on our first interview
Yes,
of
please
Nur
do.
Sharif. He's based out of London. Again, you can follow him on TikTok, Nur Sharif Writer.
Mhm.
I had a lot of fun. I hope you did too.
I
Hannah, any
did.
last words?
He was just brilliant. Absolutely
He was.
smashed it. Absolutely fantastic. Yeah.
You can tell he's done so many interviews, he's lost count, and it was our first one. But I think he taught us well.
He did.
Thank you, Nur, again.
Thank you for looking after us, Nur.
You're wonderful.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.